to this website before. You know, I'm a big Jaguar fan, especially of the XKs. XKs 120s, 140s, 150s, XKs. This is my first Jag, the XK 120. We did a video shoot on this a while back. You can go back and see it on the website. What I neglected to mention at this time, this car was restored by a friend of mine named Jason Len over 20 years ago. He did a terrific job on it. He owns a place called XK's Unlimited in San Luis Obispo, California. Now, he's brought a very special Jag down. He knew how fast mine was, and of course, you know, everybody has to try and top somebody else. So he showed up with something way cooler than this. This is his 1951 XK 120 here. Jason, come on in here. Jason, how you doing?
Good, Jay. Good to see you.
Now, you've done a beautiful job on this car. What did you start with here? 1951?
Yeah, it was more of an idea. You know, I've been restoring Jags for 36 years. You get tired of doing them completely stock all the time. So I'm kind of a hot rodder at heart. So I took a 51 Jag and made it into a hot rod 120.
It certainly looks like a hot rod. You've got the Brooklyn screens. You've got the headrest. What have you done to the motor?
Well, it's a 3.8 liter motor out of an E-Type. You know, and I've done high compression, big valves, high performance cams, Weber carburetors, a period Vertex magneto, aluminum flywheel. So it puts out about 300 horsepower, which is plenty for a light car like this.
Okay. And the transmission is what?
It's a modern BorgWarner T5 that I've put custom ratios in it and adapted to the Jaguar.
Okay, that's a 5-speed.
Yes.
That's the transmission you'd find probably in a Mustang.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. Wheels, I like the wheels.
Yeah, the wheels are an item we sell. They're a replica of the original Dunlop racing wheels used on D-type Jags, lightweight E's. They were a period racing wheel Jaguar offered.
Let's open up the hood here.
Sure.
The magneto intrigues me. So you run a straight magneto,
Straight
right?
magneto.
Okay.
Never have to worry about a dead battery.
Much like my car, you got the Webers here. Does she run on pump gas?
Barely.
Barely runs on pump gas. Okay.
It doesn't like pumping. It likes race gas better, but
It likes race gas. Okay. Do you use that ZDDP additive in your oil here? I know modern oils are not. Do you run special
we're starting
oils?
to get into that now
Yeah.
because they've taken out a lot of the zinc and other additives to the old oils.
Let's see, other difference is you have those exhausts on that side, which is very cool.
Yeah, I custom built these headers. I wanted the look of like a C-type or a D-type or even like a 300 SLR Mercedes. So I built the body with a cutout and hand built the headers to come out on the side.
And you wanted to show everybody it's not fiberglass, so you didn't paint it. You
No,
kept it
this is
aluminum.
hand-formed aluminum.
Now let's show the really trick part, this rear quarter.
Yeah, when I built this car, I threw out the stock Jag frame and built my own frame.
Okay.
It's an all-tube frame with modern, all-independent suspension, Franklin quick change rear end, Willwood racing brakes. So the car weighs over 1,000 pounds less than a stock 120.
Well, yeah, that was always the kind of the bugaboo of the original XKs. They were heavy. They were a pretty heavy car. Strong, but a massive frame. And this is this is not massive by any sense. This is pretty lightweight. And of course, you got your modern fuel cell in here. For those of you who don't know, a fuel cell, that's filled with a foam, basically. So if you get hit pretty hard from the back, it's not going to blow up.
It's a rubber bladder with foam inside it.
Right.
So it won't slosh. And if it should rupture, it won't all rush out at once.
Right.
And then if the cell gets dented, the rubber bladder usually won't tear, so it contains the gas.
And this, that's a pretty massive rear end.
Yeah, it's a Franklin quick change. It's used in sprint cars, actually. And it's got a pair of drop gears back here, so when you want to change the ratio, you don't have to take the whole rear end out. You just take that plate off, and there's 2 gears you can change the rear end ratio.
How long does it take you to change it?
About 15 minutes.
Wow, okay.
Normally it'd be a 2 or 3 day job.
So what do you run standard gear ratio on the road?
On this car here, I'm running about a 390,
390
with an 80% overdrive.
And when you race, you go to what?
I don't know, I haven't raced it yet.
Oh, you haven't raced it yet. But what's the other ratio?
Well, they're available in numerous ratios.
I see.
Generally, when you race a car like this, you run like a 410 or a 455 rear end.
And as you can see, nicely done. Look at these beautiful wells. This is sort of indicative of the kind of work Jason does. You've probably seen his ads in magazines, and if you get any of the sports car publications, you've seen road tests of his cars over the years. As I said, I've had mine over 20 years, and I believe it's still under warranty, isn't it?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Yeah.
20 years or 15 feet.
Inboard disc brakes, that's pretty impressive.
Yes.
something, of course, they never had at the time. Let's take a look at the dashboard. Show us what we have.
Yeah,
here.
the dashboard I styled to look like a D-type Jag, which had this cutout section, and the gauges themselves are actually replicas of original D gauges. I found a guy in England that still has all the tooling to make the original gauges, so they're all chronometric and all just as they were in the 50s.
Tell me about that mag. Does it crank all right from dead cold and starts all right?
You know, I've been running magnetos in my race car and street cars for the last 20 years, and they just start instantly.
Really?
I've had no problems. I don't know why they're not more popular.
Because a lot of English cars, like the Bentleys, will have both. You'll have a coil ignition to start, and then a mag ignition once you're running.
Yeah.
The trouble with most mags is you don't get enough power cranking to kick it over, but that's not the case with the modern
No,
mag,
well, actually, this magneto was built in the 50s and 60s, although I have them restored. But all you have to do is hold it and turn it one revolution. You'll see how quick it puts out a big, healthy spark.
Yeah. And Jason does all this metal work himself up at the shop, right? You have an English wheel and you bang these out. And these are all stock XK120 fenders, aren't they?
Basically, the shape is, what I did is Jaguar built 3 special bodies in the 50s called LT1s, and they were lightweight bodies. As you see, the front didn't open like a standard 120, and the doors are a little bit different shapes, so I styled the basic look like that. And then after that, I just did what I liked. These slots, I saw a 1750 Alfa Romeo Grand Prix car. I liked them.
Yeah.
I stuck them on there. You know, I changed these to oval just because I like the looks. And so, you know, I just added little details here and there. The fairing I had off another customer's car. He didn't like it, so I cut it and shaped it, made it fit this one.
The other reason I mention it is if you've got an XK120 and you've got a whole crumpled up fender here, you don't have to send away to England or go scouring junkyards. Not that you'd ever find one in a junkyard. So you can make all those pieces, correct? Right. Pretty cool. Now, before we take a ride, we should tell people your website. It's
www.xks.com. Very simple.
Okay. And you do a lot of work for charity. I know you use your restoration shop to raise money. What do you got here?
Well, you know, I feel very fortunate. I've made my whole life's living playing with toys for other people. And a few years ago, someone very near and dear to me was diagnosed with MS. So I've become very involved with the MS Society. I'm now a board of directors, head of the MS Walk team, and I also do an event called MS for Car Show for MS. And we do it every year, and so far we've raised about $75,000. And I just brought you a sweatshirt.
Oh,
so
cool, I'll wear that. You know, you could probably do a little more walking too, I think. Yeah?
You noticed.
I think both of us. You know something, we should start walking, I think, yeah. All right, let's take this thing for a ride. Forget walking, let's go driving.
The nice thing about Jason's shop is he can do any level of upgrade that you want. I mean, this is obviously the ultimate tube frame, 5-speed, but if you just like a 5-speed transmission, or if you like the electronic ignition, all that stuff is available for these cars. That's the great thing about them. These cars can run for another 100 years. You know, Jaguar race cars are amazing. They're so docile, you can drive them on the street. You can actually drive a D-Jag to Le Mans, race it, and drive home again. I always like the rear view mirror hidden under the aerodynamic cover here. I must say it's really nice to have a Jag I can actually fit in. You know, I mean, much I love driving them, I'm always like this. But it's a comfortable seat, you got plenty of leg room. If I had any complaint about Jags, that's probably the main one, they just don't fit in them. Whereas this one he built for himself, and here and I are about the same size, so it works out pretty nicely. This is not a peaky car. You can drive this car on the street. We're finally starting to get some heat in it now. It's starting to warm up a little bit. You know, modern sports cars are nice, and Ferraris and Corvettes, but nothing gives you a thrill like these open-air cars with the little Brooklyn windscreen, the open exhaust. You know, it's so light, it almost feels like a little MG Midget or a Sprite. fantastic car this is. It is so much lighter than my Jag. It really is 1,000 pounds lighter, and that really makes a difference on these windy roads. It helps your acceleration. It just feels so light and spindly. Very exciting car to drive. Your revs drop to about 3 grand and 60 miles an hour. Fantastic car to drive. There is nothing like the crackle of the Jag Straight 6. It is one of the world's great engines. You know, in England, this would be like our 289 or our 327 Chevy over here. One of those iconic motors that has been around for years and years and has almost limitless possibilities, rather, in horsepower and torque. Well, as you can see, pretty impressive automobile. And no, I'm not going to do a burnout because it's not my car. Actually, if I did a burnout, he would see it, and we know how that works. See you next week.